Hi, today's tutorial is about making pom-poms and specifically using your iPhone in ways that you might not have considered before to make things like a pom-pom. Hey, I'm Queer Joe. One of the things that I had done as a project for one of my nephews was make him a hat. And when I was traveling to go deliver the hat, I brought some of my extra yarn and needles just in case I had to make any modifications to that. When I got there, he realized he wanted a pom-pom, and I didn't have a pom-pom maker with me. And so I realized what I did have was something that would be easily adaptable to making a pom-pom for his hat, and that was my iPhone. And so my iPhone is about 5.5 inches tall, and so I realized it would make pretty much an ideal pom-pom maker for that. And so I recognized that if I just wrapped it like I would a standard pom-pom maker, and if you've never made a pom-pom maker, I will take you through to the end of this. If not, you can kind of recognize what I'm about to do immediately and kind of stop the video right now. But basically what I decided to do is I had DK weight yarn, and I decided to wrap it 100 times and use that because I wanted a pretty full and thick and uniform pom-pom. I decided that that would be the best way to go. So I, in essence, wrapped it 100 times. And through the magic of video, I won't make you suffer through this 100-time wrap. We'll wrap it for you now quickly. Okay, so now what I have is an iPhone wrapped with approximately 100 times with this, and obviously around the entire lengthwise version of the iPhone. Break that piece off. Now, one of the things I need to do to make sure that I can cut my pom-pom, because you need to cut basically this edge and this edge after you secure the center piece of it for your pom-pom, I needed to make sure that I could keep these two separated. So basically I just found any kind of paper clip or any kind of thing that I could use to separate the front from the back of the yarn, and so basically I just insert this paper clip in between, underneath all the pieces of yarn here, and kind of secure that a little bit at the top so that it won't fall out when I eventually pull this off. And then I take another paper clip and did the same. So I can use basically regular office supplies as well as my iPhone to. And now I'm going to insert this one at the bottom of the iPhone underneath all the sections of yarn on the bottom of the iPhone so that I can keep them separated when I secure the center of this multiple loops of yarn on my iPhone. So I secured a little paper clip up at the top there, and I secured at the bottom, actually top and bottom. And now I can actually slip this directly off my iPhone. So I can slip the entire thing off my iPhone. And you'll see what I basically have is a bunch of wraps of yarn. And then in the center, I'm going to take another piece of my yarn and very securely. Now you might want to consider using a stronger thread or a nylon type of thread to secure the center of your yarn. I am just going to use, for the purpose of this video, I am just going to secure it. So tying it around the middle, as close to the center as you can, of your now little mini skein of yarn, and I kind of have to put this down so that I can tie it tightly enough. I secure it so that I now have the secure piece. I'm going to tie a knot in that. And so now I have my tied centerpiece with the little being separated by my little paper clip. Okay? And now I can take out my paper clip as long as I can use my finger to keep those two separated. And then I take my scissors and insert them into the center of that, and then cut that edge that I talked about before. Making sure that you cut all the edges. And so it looks like that. It's starting to look a little bit more like a pom-pom. And then on the bottom of it, where my other paper clip was, I can take that out and replace it with my finger, and then insert my scissors into that and cut that edge. Okay, good. So now what I have is that multi-wraps of yarn, and so now it's just a kind of like a little haystack of yarn tied together in the center very tightly and very securely, as much as I possibly could, in the center of this. Now this is actually rather loose, I'm realizing, so I'm going to go ahead and put one more loop around this and tighten it up a little bit because it's going to be important. And it's hard to hold that up for the camera while I'm doing that with my two hands. So I'm going to tie that securely and put another knot in there. Great. So now what I have is getting closer to a pom-pom. So taking those two pieces of yarn that I used to secure it in the center, I shake out my pom-pom. And now you can see I've got kind of a pom-pom. But the secret to any good pom-pom is to make sure that you can trim it evenly and trim it very much as you possibly can to make it an even, uniform pom-pom. So now you see as I hold it together kind of in a cone in between my thumb and forefinger and kind of pull the center of it down a little bit, I can see all the edges that I need to take off. So I'm going to do this and trim this as much as I possibly can, kind of like a hair cutter. And so if you have any hair cutting skills, you want to treat these as evenly and as uniform as possible. And the secret of trimming, the reason trimming works so well to make it a more uniform pom-pom. So now you can see it's starting to become a little bit more of a pom-pom when I shake it out. Now I could actually use this as a pom-pom, but it's a little raggedy, so I trim that a lot more. But the reason this works so well is because where you secured this, the denseness of the yarn is much more dense and thick. And so the closer to the center of where you've tied it together that you get when it comes to making your actual pom-pom is how uniform and dense and thick it's going to be. So I'm going to continue doing this and making the remainder of this pom-pom, and I'll come back to you at the end of it once I finish my pom-pom and show you what. So after all was said and done, the pom-pom came out quite uniform. The secret again is don't be afraid to trim down as much as you possibly can. As long as your pom-pom isn't too small, you can actually continue to trim it down more and more, and the more you trim it, the more you're going to like it.